Hey boys and girls of the YouTube world, today the Duff Dog and I'm going to show you what happens when you buy the absolute cheapest muscle car that's been LS swapped in the entire world on the old Facebook marketplace. So let's just jump right into it. It's a little bit windy. I've had this thing in the yard for a few weeks. I've literally drove it on the trailer, drove it off the trailer, moved it around the yard, and I know that it is not safe to go on the road. So this all started out as I was on the old Facebook marketplace, as I do. And years ago, probably about 7-8 years ago, I ran the numbers on what it would cost for me to do an LS swap in my 1960, what is Lightning? 62 Chevy pickup? Yeah, it's a 62. It's got a 63 grill. I get confused. I haven't driven it in 2 years, so 3 years, 4 years. But I ran the numbers back then and it was about $3 grand to do an LS swap. And you can do just out bobbing around. So that's the new mower man. That's Bob. He's the neighbor. I bet he puts 60,000 miles a year on and doesn't leave the Tri-County area. He's an interesting cat, hey Duff? He's not a cat, but anyway, are you excited that we went from snow to 90-degree weather in a matter of 3 weeks? We didn't get spring, we just went right to summer. Anyway, you can do an LS swap a lot of different ways. You can do a Brent half-ass customs. Shout out to him. Yes, I know he lost his shop. It's a terrible deal. But go check him out, like, comment, subscribe to his channel, give him all the support you can. And he can do an LS swap for whatever he gets the vehicle for, provided he can find a two-wheel drive. It's really hard to find two-wheel drives up here, because we're in Podunk. We get 943 feet of snow. And we get giant noisy box trucks driving by. But anyway, he's the type of guy, he's got the tuner, he's got a ripped off cotton, I can't talk about that stuff. Anyway, he can flash computers for nothing. Where for me it cost me 150 bucks to get them deleted. He uses the original fuel pump, the original fuel lines, the original transmission, makes his own exhaust because he had an exhaust bender. Hopefully that thing survived the fire and he can just put some new seals and cylinders. But exhaust is $1,000 for me roughly. Rebuilding a tranny, so usually what I would do is buy parts vehicle, sell the transmission, the original one, have them bring a core back and have them convert that core to a two-wheel drive and then make it rebuilt 4L60E. So that, it's about $1,600 right now. So exhaust and a transmission, I'm at 26, and then flashing, I'm at $2,750. And that's no cost of the parts vehicle, no cost of the engine, no cost of the original transmission. That's no drive shaft. That's no wire harness. That's no fuel pump. That's no hoses. That's no radiator. That's no fluids. That is nothing. So I got this thing for $3,500. I talked to the guy on the phone. He seemed like he knew. He was shooting me straight. I wouldn't say he knew what he was talking about. He said this car is not roadworthy. It needs steering and brakes. I don't know what the deal with the steering is, but the brakes definitely suck. He's moving out of state. They had some medical issues, yada, 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 needed to sell the car. I said, perfect. I think he was asking $4 grand. I said, what's your bottom dollar? He came down to $3,500 on his own. I didn't lowball him. He brought it down to that price. He said he LS swapped this thing in his garage in like a weekend, and it needs some wrapping up. It was listed as a 1979 Firebird. Let's go check this thing out. You wanna go show him the Firebird, Duff? Here it is. It's been hanging out outside here. I can't remember, Chanhassen, Minnesota? That's the suburbs of cities. Headlights just kind of hanging out there, zip tied in, hood pins. He cheaped out and didn't buy the, $300, $400, $600 low profile oil pan. So we just slammed her in there, and that's why it sits so high and cut out the hood. But that's kind of what I dig about this thing. It's drive-by cable. So it's a 02 and earlier. It's a 5.3 allegedly. Looks like he bought some nice fittings and AN fuel line and stuff. When I got there, oh yeah, some more zip ties holding all this in place. That looks like a AN plug screwed into that. He had a plastic bag over the air cleaner, or over the alternator. He was not there. His mother-in-law was there. She gave me the keys. I reached in and went click. So I put a booster pack on it, it fired up. It ran quiet, it ran nice. It shifted into gear. So we drove it on the trailer. I'm pretty sure there's about 13 lug nuts on the entire car. We should have 20. There's 3 there. He said he's had this thing going 130 miles an hour. Oh, that one's got all 5. It's got the fender flares. I don't know. This thing is... He said he saved it from the scrap. The previous owner had like some 26-inch wheels, and he claims that's why it sits so high, and it painted it purple. He said it's originally a silver on silver car. We'll get to that later. Yeah, I don't know a ton about these things. He says it's got rear disc brakes. I'm like, really? I've had a lot of these rear ends for like 55 to 59 Chevy pickups and never seen one with disc brakes. But then again, I don't think I've ever had a Firebird. Duff's checking her all out. He's getting in there real nice and deep like.
That's it, boy. Get in there nice and deep like.
It's got these great big BF goodies. I think they're 295 50s. 4 lug nuts there. Oh, dual pattern. So somebody else can probably own these wheels. The exhaust is hanging way down low. The only reason I know about that is because loading it on the trailer, it was just about catching. And 4 lug nuts there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 16 lug nuts. Not bad. Apparently there's no hood hinges. And the windshield's cracked over there. So the hood came back. Schmuck that. It is a T-top car. He said it doesn't leak. I find that hard to believe because the windows are electric and will not go up or down. The door handle only works from the outside over there. So I found that out the hard way. Drove the car on the trailer. Couldn't get the windows open. So I had to climb across the console and out that door. It was an epic time. This guy must have bought zip ties in bulk. Headlights. I mean, just a multi-purpose facet. I'm guessing this was not the original clip. It looks like there's some blue paint on there. Anyway, let's see if this thing will start up, drive inside, and get it on the hoist, look at the bottom side, see what's going on underneath there that is so sketchy that he says it can't be steered. Let's figure out the brakes. Let's just dive into this thing. Fair warning, probably gonna be a lot of talking in this video and not much work, because I don't know how much work we're gonna do on this thing, because I really don't want a 1979 Trans Am. That's right, it is a Trans Am. So getting back to the old silver interior thing and silver exterior, somebody painted this car and I'm like, silver on silver, it's like those wheels kind of ring a bell. So I ran the VIN number. This is a 1979 10th anniversary Trans Am. They only made 7,500 of them, 5,000 and change with the 403 Oldsmobile and automatic, and about 2,500 give or take with the 400 Pontiac and the 4-speed. This was a factory automatic car. AC, power windows, moonroof, tilt, all the good stuff, tack. So this is a pretty rare car. I am sweating. The joys of having a beard and a mustache. Anyway, let's get this thing inside, this 10th anniversary Trans Am. Super rare car. Oh yeah, somebody put a floor jack on the floor and pushed it up right here, and also you can see daylight there, so you can see she's a little soft. Oh, those must be his fuel lines. Well, that's easy to fix going down the road. Never mind that. It's got the old RTS, the radial tune suspension, factory tack, clock, water gauges, all that. And then he put an oil gauge and a water gauge over here. Hey, check out mortske.com, get yourself an air freshener and a vintage keychain. They call these things saddle keychains, we found out when we ordered these. And now it makes sense, because it is shaped like a saddle. And I cannot unsee it, and I am not a horse person, so yeah. Somebody already got the stereo. Looks like there's some zip ties holding the heater box in there, and some duct tape. We got a little wiring going on. He did buy an aftermarket harness, so right there is a couple $100. There's our OBD2 connector. We can check, see if it's got some codes. Some more AN fittings. Yeah. Oh, that's the bag for the air freshener. It's new car scent. Never had a new car, so I don't know what that smells like. Column screws are not that bad. It's got cruise. This thing was loaded up. And it's got a dead battery. So I guess we'll go get a battery or a booster. Great, grand, wonderful.
Good, great, grand, wonderful.
Don't forget to not close. God dang, bugs. Don't close that door because we can't get out. Fix the windows or take the moonroof off. Moonroof, sunroof. Full disclosure, the mullet and a jean jacket may be coming out for this video. And we're not taking a black light to the back seat. Hood pan life. Yeah. Try not to cut your hand. there is a battery in it, so whether that's a plus or I don't know. Fixed it! Hopefully it didn't. Oh yeah, definitely kinked it. It's also a factory Ram air car. Yeah. This thing was the cat's pajamas in 1979. Dave's Not Here Man was our original battery sponsor. Original battery sponsor. Just bonus hardware laying around, rusted out battery tray. The ground is grounded to the inner fender, or the fender. The inner fenders are metal, but yeah, that's not good. So I'm gonna go grab a battery, we'll be back. Oh, we need a battery sponsor. Note to self, battery goes dead in 2 weeks. It's been sitting here for 2 weeks since our little open house deal. All right. Let's see what happens now. So add that to the list of things to fix, Duff. Battery drain. Oh, wow. This is so bad and so good at the same time. The power steering hose is definitely rubbing against the power steering pulley, as is the positive battery cable. Oh, it's got a Honda radiator and electric fans, zip tied in place. Okay, let's see if it starts. I'm just gonna leave you guys out here and give her the old reach around and start her from the inside. Because there's any way you could start it from the outside. Hear the fuel pump running. Little blow by, a little smoke there. But see how nice and quiet this thing is? I mean, he's got terrible exhaust on it when it's quiet, and I like quiet. Oh, it's got headers, and I don't like headers. I don't like red anodized aluminum. So it looks like he's got a quick connect anodized adapter going to AN, going to AN line, going to hard steel line. I don't know what this is, but fuel pressure regulator of sorts. Oh, it's a catch can. This thing's got an oil catch can in it, and it looks like it's full. I've never owned anything with a catch can. I'm not an expert, but I believe that's for, you know, when you're making high horsepower and got all kinds of blow by, that catches your oil so it doesn't blow on the racetrack. Ooh, Scotch clip, butt connector going to random wire that is taped up. I didn't use the quick connect on the return line, just hose clamped it, not a big deal to him apparently, but yeah, I would definitely fix that. Wires just laying everywhere. Zip ties not really doing anything. You know, positive cable just hanging out in the open. Don't get the cover for that. You can see that power steering hose is laying right on the pulley. Yeah, zip tie holding. Is that another catch? Oh, that's the overflow catch can. Again, anodized aluminum, not my thing. Yeah, don't trim off any zip ties. Don't get a nice small zip tie. Get the big ones. All of it. This thing's like a porcupine underneath here. More butt splices with too big of butt splices just hanging out. White zip ties are a definite no-no. Let's get this thing inside. Oh my gosh, duct tape on electrical. Whew. Like I said, this thing it's so bad and so good at the same time. It's gonna be a lot of me talking and a lot of me getting solid. And I'm glad we're not drinking yet, because this would be solid entertainment for me. Also, the barn swallows have moved in and are gonna be dive bombing us. So that's great. I think they're making a nest. Oh yeah, sure enough, there's a nest up there. Don't shut the door. Brakes feel good, but they're not good. Oh yeah, and the shifter needs a little adjustment. There's neutral, there's drive, but it doesn't, you can almost click it into third. Oh, what's that guy's name? Patrick? I think it's Patrick. All right. Yeah, see, he clearly was not having any problems with the window switches. It's just hanging out there. Sorry about your hood, bro. Yeah, 40 pounds of oil pressure. It's charging. I don't know if the fuel tank's working. Yeah, see, though, so there's my foot all the way to the floor. As you can see, we're still barely rolling. Will it do a donut? Well, the door will probably latch. Oh, hey, Duff. I don't want to run you over, so. Oh, you went to the swamp for a swim? No, I'm not going for a ride. We gotta get brakes, and we don't have brakes. None whatsoever. What if we pump them? Hopefully we don't run to the back of the crew cab, because I have the pedal held all the way down right now. Shut the engine off. If you pump it, they work. So there might be just air in there. Neutral safety switch? Yeah, right. Oh yeah, that doesn't work. Oh yeah, lose the brakes right away. Whew, didn't latch the door. Oh my God, is it gross and hot in there. Whew. It smells like unspeakable things from high school. Ugh. Probably still smells better than you, swamp donkey. I don't think you've been in that thing and checked it out, and I'm not gonna let you in there like that. How do you... Could you not find some clean water to swim in? Okay, I'm gonna roll this thing ahead, and then we're gonna check out the engine bay. Let's unhook the battery for S's and G's. Hopefully the bumper doesn't pull off. Easy on the paint. Okay, we're in. That's what she said.
Yeah, that's what she said.
In park, key is off. So here's a couple of things that I look at with LS swaps. And it's kind of something you can look at even if it's a factory engine, but something that I definitely look at when it's LS swaps or it's been swapped from any type of stock engine to a non-stock engine. Or even if you take a 6-cylinder pickup, like a 65 Chevy pickup that was a factory 6-cylinder and you make it into a V8, some of the things I look at. So it's all the things that would change that were non-factory. So your throttle linkage, your fuel lines, fuel hose, fuel plumbings, your electrical plumbing, your throttle linkage, your radiator hoses, your engine mounts, your exhaust, stuff like that is all stuff I look at. And if I can't notice any of that stuff, if like I open a hood on a 65 Chevy pickup and I don't notice any of that stuff because it looks just like a factory 65 Chevy pickup, you did a good job. Same thing with this. If you did an LS swap and used all stock stuff, and I can't tell, you did a good job. Not so good of a job on the old purple panty dropper here, the old PPD. I don't know. Give us a name for, what would you call a purple 1979 10th anniversary Trans Am that's been extremely poorly LS swapped? Comment down below because we need a name for this thing, because I don't think I can sell this thing in good faith to anybody because of how bad this thing is. But this thing would make an amazing donor car. This is the same front end as is under Reggie, my 47 Chevy pickup. These things handle amazing. So I could literally take all this and put in a pickup like Reggie and have another Reggie, but LS swapped. And I kind of want to LS swap Reggie, so maybe? We'll see. We're gonna leave Reggie together for the summer because that thing works way too good the way it is. More zip ties, you know, a body ground with a red connector on a 14 gauge wire, so it should be a blue connector. So these connectors, your tech tip of the day, are color coded. So red is like up to 16 gauge, I think, and blue is like up to 18 gauge, and blue is 14 and 16 gauge. Yellow goes on from there. Those are the main three. You know, another body ground here, like why wouldn't you just use the same one here, but at least, you know, that's the right color for the wire size. And then you got wire exposed, like why have an insulated connector that doesn't have, cover the wire, insulate it. You know, zip ties, doubled up, hooked together. I think this is a transmission cooler, or is it an oil cooler? I don't know, but there's some type of switch plumbed in line, which I don't know why a transmission line would have a switch. Maybe he's got his fans. Oh my gosh, we have to dig into this. We need to know. He peeled up the core support to fit the Honda radiator. I don't know why he didn't just use the stock Trans Am radiator. He doesn't have flexi hoses. Shout out to the builder of this thing. Oh my God, it's getting so bad it's good. Is that bubble gum? No. Nope. Oh, get this. That's like a freaking shop glove. That is a rubber shop glove. Used as insulation. Oh, it's PVC. That is PVC pipe straight from Home Depot right there. So good. All these zip ties hooked together. Cut up the core support. Oh, and then look at this. Just mashed the cone style air filter right into the front of the oh, no. He's got an AC condenser in here. It's not hooked up because there's no compressor, but anyway, just mash it into that. At least he didn't mash into his nice Honda radiator. Painter's tape. Hopefully that was to label the wires and not to be some type of insulation, because painter's tape is for guess what? Painting. You can tell it's a Honda radiator by the way that it is.
This is an aspen. You can tell that it's an aspen tree
because of the way it is.
He's got electric fans. He says it didn't run cool, and then he rewired. Oh, he had it hooked up to the ECU because you can program a pin out. All of the truck traffic today. You can program a pin out on the stock ECU, which is what he's running on this with an aftermarket harness. And you can run the fans. You can control the fans when they come on, what temperature they come on, so on and so forth. It wasn't working, so I don't know if he's got it hooked up to a switch or what he's got going on. But, okay, so there's two fans. We just twisted the wire together there. I get it. Same thing over there. Those are from the two fans. Oh, this is the ground side of the fans. And this side, this red wire comes over here, goes into this. Oh, so he's got it hooked up into the transmission temperature? He's running the fans off of the transmission oil temperature. I think I would run it off the coolant temperature if that's what you're trying to cool, because that fan is not going to cool this crap-tastic. Oh, but wait. I hate electric fans, in case you guys didn't know that. He's got an electric fan on this guy. And oh yeah, we ran out of butt connectors, so we just taped it with black tape. But before we went with the black tape, we just had duct tape. But when that slid out of there because it's all greasy and transmission fluidy, then we put electrical tape. So that's the ground side. Oh, so he's running both electric fans right off of that. So right there is a no-no. These fans are pretty small, but generally speaking, you had me at generally, you want to run your fans through a relay. It is fine to use a switch to trip the relay, but you do not want to run your electrical fans off switch, because these fans pull high amperage, and you want to have large gauge wire doing that, not this tiny little 14 gauge wire. So there's one of the first things that we noticed. Well, hey, thanks for coming on inside, guys, and watching the show. See you later. Another thing I hate, barn swallows. It's a good thing they're protected by the state so that we can't, or the nation or whoever, we can't murder them. All right, continuing on. Yeah, you know, don't use 8 inches of wire, use 28 inches of wire. This is our heater hose that's just looped. They make a fancy little loop on Amazon for like $9. You slide right over that's formed and cool. You're supposed to, I forget what this hose is called up here that goes to the intake. It's supposed to go to like your highest point. And if you buy an LS swap radiator, it's got a port in there like my dad's Buick. But I guess it works when you just tee it in right there. Oh, but wait! We got a fancy little T here. I don't know if it's fancy or not, but there's a T. And as you'll notice, there is 0 hose clamps there. So that's just waiting to burst off when the fans are not running and build up a bunch of pressure, and that thing blows off. That's where the fuel or the coolant's gonna go. And that hose is also kinked, so that's awesome. It looks like they tapped well, that's our temp sensor. Tap that into our thermostat housing, radiator sport. Looks like we got some more zip tie action going down there. In case you didn't know, you can definitely trim these off. They make a nice little pliers, flush cut pliers for trimming them off. Found that out on Finnegan's Garage, I think. This hose has been rubbing on the hood. I mean, at least they got clamps on them. Oh yeah, he said he had the heater hose. He hooked up at one time, but then the heater core leaked, and he said that looked like fun to swap. So when he spliced that, instead of just unhooking the hose up there and running it all the way up there with one piece of hose, he used some pipe thread, coupler, something or other. Again, you know, wouldn't you just put the right end on this wire and stretch it from there to there instead of having a splice every 4 inches? I don't know. More zip ties that aren't trimmed off. Tranny cooler. Again, why would you wire that in your fans into the tranny cooler line? I could see wiring that fan in there. Maybe he had that originally wired up that way, and then because the ECU didn't work, he just said, well, that fan's working, so I'm just going to wire my cooling fans into my transmission. I don't know. I really don't know. Why not just get a GM radiator, or buy the, I bet they make an LS swap radiator for this for a couple $100. Okay, let's forget spending money. Use the stock radiator and put your electric fans on there, because you already had to find these electric fans, and hook your tranny cooler lines up to that, and then put this switch in your coolant system, and then just run everything through that, and then run it through a relay. You wouldn't have had to spend a whole lot more money. You'd have had to buy a relay, is about it. Which you could have sold all this scrap copper and paid for that. I did check the oil before I loaded it up and started it. Everything was clean and good. He's got a really nice aftermarket harness. You can tell by the way that it's, you know, all wrapped up. And I talked to him. It looks like it's got these adapters on here, so it's for a different style of fuel injector. So, yeah, I don't know. Got an aftermarket 710 cap here. He's got it on upside down. Let me fix that for him. I think that should be a threaded cap that goes on there, but never mind. We'll just run a press in one. Thinking he's using the stock GM throttle cable, slightly faded because it's seen some sunlight. It's a snug fit. Snug fit. He said he didn't have to cut up the firewall / transmission tunnel with setting it up this high, which apparently the internet told him you had to. So yeah, we just cut a big gaping hole through the firewall and just stuffed all our wires through there. Again, more zip tie. I'm trying to find a zip tie that has been trimmed off. I mean, cripes. Yeah, and I like to run my transmission cooler lines like along the frame, you know, so you don't see them. Or maybe, you know, attach them to something, like maybe put them through this zip tie here that's not trimmed off, or this. Oh, there it is. Finally found one that's trimmed off. This thing is so great. Did you guys come up with a name for this thing yet? Another splice in the heater hose. I'm pretty sure you could buy a roll of heater hose for what some of these splices are costing, fittings. So this thing would have originally, since it's 99 to 02, I think in 05 is when they went to electric fans on pickups, which is likely what this thing's out of. Had a mechanical fan, which threads on the end of the water pump here. And I get why they didn't run a mechanical fan, because, you know, it would have been above the radiator. So I'm fine with the electric fans in this application. It does look like they took a zip disc and he started trying to cut this off. I don't know why, you know, for looks maybe. But I think they found out that if he would have cut that off, that the pulley would have come off. You can see. Get your screwed by Mortske Repair magnetic screwdriver on mortske.com. You can see right there, he started cutting through it. Well, in the center of this, he thought he was just cutting the threads off. Well, that's the shaft for the water pump. So if he would have cut that off, he would have lost his water pump pulley. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, this thing is so great. So tremendously, horrendously great. And then how you do, another thing to do is how you do your air intake. There's a lot of ways to do an air intake. You can spend a lot of money, or you can spend hardly any money. So I'm wondering what all this stuff is out of, because I see some GM part numbers. This is Frenco. This is a coupler for PVC right here, which, I mean, I'm fine with. It's rubber, it's got good clamps. And this is some type of flexi hose, which, again, I'm all right with because it's on the air intake. It's somewhat common, but yeah. The right way to do it, or the nice way to do it, would be like some nice mandrel bent aluminum tubing all TIG welded together, and elbows and solidly secured somewhere that doesn't require cutting a gaping hole in the hood. So that's one thing that I've been thinking about. I have never turboed anything. I don't have any tuning software. I don't have any tuning experience. I don't have anybody close that really has any experience with boosted applications. But since this thing already has a hole cut in the hood, it's already super crappy and cut up. I kind of want to put a turbo on this thing. And since you got to, I don't know a ton about turbos, but you got to tie the two exhaust sides together to put one turbo on it. You know, why not just put two turbos on it? So then you don't have to tie the exhaust together. You just got one turbo on each bank, and then you shoot that air in the truck intake. And this thing's got the Mad Max look to it. Maybe that's the name we could give it, the Ponty Max. I don't know. Think about it. Comment down below the name that we're naming this thing, because like I said, I can't sell this to anybody in good faith. Either we need to run this car into the ground ourselves, or we need to cut it up and make parts of it. So price and availability will not be listed in the description for the Ponty Max. So twin turb skis, think about it, because then we could get rid of these silly headers and just put cast iron manifolds flipped upside down. Another thing that you can spend a bunch of money on, two things, is intakes. You can buy a nice low profile intake like I have on my car so that you can clear the hood. And then front runner setups or accessory or pulley setups, drive setups to get, you know, your AC where it needs to be, or your power steering, your alternator, or just to clean everything up. So this is all stock GM stuff. He saves some money there. So you can spend a bunch of money on that. But then he spent money on headers. Like, why didn't you just use the stock manifolds? You know, you could have taken your header money and bought a nice radiator or a nice air intake. Because these headers are not going to make this thing go any faster with a stock tune, in my humble opinion. But I don't know anything about anything. All right, zip ties, cruise control. Again, cruise probably is not working. That's one thing nice about drive-by-wire, the 03 and newer, is it's pretty much, you just wire in a switch to make your cruise control work. Nice thing about drive-by cable is you can use the stock throttle cable. You don't have to put an electronic cable in there. Looks like we got a little, oh, Scotch tape. We got all the tapes. We got blue tape, we got silver tape, we got black tape, we got clear tape. I mean, this guy was not biased to colors. No racism towards tapes whatsoever. I don't know what's going on with that zip tie. It's kind of twisted in a couple of circles there, but it's definitely holding the throttle. Yeah, that's definitely the oil pressure sending unit that's not plugged in, which not a big deal, I guess. He's got one hard plumbed in somewhere, somehow. I wonder where he's got that plugged in. Interesting. Oh, must be down by the oil filter. I mean, are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I spent $3,500 purely for entertainment value, because vehicular value, there ain't much here. So hopefully you guys are entertained. I don't know that there's much to see inside this thing other than grody 1979 interior, 10th anniversary Trans Am interior, nonetheless. But let's get this thing up in the lift and see what the bottom side looks like. Oh, that's the other thing, engine mounts. You can buy engine mounts, nice engine mounts. You can buy engine mounts that are kind of prefab that you got to do a little work to, or you can cobble together your own engine mounts. Let's see what kind of engine mounts old Burt Reynolds put here. Maybe that's what we put. Burt, Robert, Mad Burt, Burt Max, Birdman. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, look at that. So it looks like he bought nice mounts, just the plates that bolts the engine, and then welded a bunch of flat iron to it. Very poor. He took it down to Ray Charles welding shop and fabric cobbled something amazing together. If you can't weld good, well, oh gosh, hopefully we can get a better look at the bottom side, because this is a spectacle that deserves to be seen. This thing is so bad. Let's check the brake fluid just for S's and G's. See if there's brake fluid in it. See if the old Mortske screwdriver's got enough to it, or we bend it. Oh yeah, she's good. She's golden. Get out of the way, catch can. Okay, let's put some brake fluid in it. That may or may not help the braking situation. The rear reservoir is empty. The front is about 1/8 full. Look at that magnetic. Isn't that great? Handier than a shirt with pockets. All right, that should fix the brakes. Just kidding. There's definitely an issue. Going back to the old battery drain, yeah, so much going on with the electrical. You should ground that to the engine and then run a strap like this from the engine to the body, which, let me guess, this thing is not hooked to anything. This is connected to the body. Oh my. Oh my, he did hook that to a bell housing bolt. Well, of course, it's got to, somehow the engine has to be grounded because it's cranking over. But technically, usually what folks do is run a ground strap from the negative cable to the engine, and then a little tiny strap like that to from the engine to the body, and then from the engine to the frame, or from the body to the frame, or whatever. You usually don't ground the battery directly to the body, but it seems like it's working. And I can't imagine the battery drain has anything to do with all these random wires just hanging out here in the open. Oh, is that a giant Scotch clip? Is that a big boy? Oh, that's a big boy. That's a big red Scotch clip. Dang.
Dang.
The old electrical guillotine itself. We should make an electrical guillotine shirt, sticker, decal, logo, something. All right, I'm gonna kick the old arms underneath this thing and lift her up. We should maybe put some lug nuts on it while we're at it. I mean, he could have used that header money and bought some tires, or at least bought another 6 lug nuts, really splurged. I guess when he was at the junkyard getting that Honda fan, there was probably 6 lug nuts in that salvage yard that would have fit this thing. Because, I mean, 7/16 right-hand fine thread, how hard can it be? White letters out. The only thing that would make this thing better is Krager's. You guys know how much I hate white letters out, and this is why. People who put white letters out build cars like this. People with attention to detail, like the old Puddin's Fab Shop and I, that are all about wheels and tires and stance, screw up the wheels and tires and stance, and then proceed to screw everything else up front to back. Don't be offended if you have white letters and you have a nice car, or have Krager's and have a nice car, because there is such things. But I just don't like white letters. They're all right. Never mind. They're not all right. White letters are bad, and Krager's bad. Okay. Don't be offended. You're fine. Well, 6-2 season. Mojo's showing up for work. Look at that hot rod. Duff's going out to greet him for the day. It's gonna be a good day. All right, let's look at this thing. You said something about an oil pan leak, but that looks like a brand new oil pan. The aftermarket low profile pans should be about flush with the bottom of the bell housing here, which is conveniently missing a couple bolts holding it to the oil pan. There's where he's tapped in for the oil pressure sending unit. Instead of using tape, it looks like he's got some silicone smeared on there. Let's get our Screwed by Mortske Repair pointer here, which you can get at mortske.com, in case I didn't mention that earlier. Looks like he's missing 2 engine mount bolts. It looks like it was welded with flux core, or I mean, attempted to be welded with flux core. It looks like there's some square tubing or some big square stock. And it looks like, yeah, that's like a aftermarket style solid mount Pontiac. I have no idea what is going on here, but it is bad. Like, that is an aftermarket mount, and that's an aftermarket mount, and that is a whole bunch of hot garbage. It's somewhat melted in between. It's so bad. These are not stock engine mount bolts. They should be different, but those are going to be fine. Big sway bar, greasable end link. Somebody just to replace that. Huh, I didn't know that they made greasable ones. Well, and then it's not even hooked up on the other side. Why wouldn't it be hooked up? How does that strap just become missing? Oh my gosh. Yeah, he says the steering needs, oh. Where's the play at? Oh, it's just in the steering gearbox. Gearbox is worn out. But the tie rod ends look like they're newer. The couplers look like they're newer. So, yeah, I don't see any issue with the brakes or the steering. Looks like that idler arm is all nice and tight. Yeah, all the play is just in the box there, so not a big deal. We could put a box in it. No big deal. Ain't no thing.
Ain't no thing but chicken wine.
Factory disc brakes. Oh, it looks like the bolt is about ready to come out of that sway bar end link right there. So, yeah, we could probably touch that up a bit, you know. Okay, moving on. Yeah, there's this, I don't know, oil leak. Like I said, that is not a stock truck pan. Well, it probably is, but it's an aftermarket replacement. Oh my gosh, look at that engine mount. Would you look at it? Just look at it.
Oh, look at this. You got me running all around the car.
Oh, those welds are just of the utmost quality. That's the great part, is they bought a bunch of aftermarket stuff and cut it up. So bad and so good. I don't care for headers, as you know, but those are actually pretty nice headers. Oh, that engine mount, God, they're so good. We should see if we can tear those loose. Hopefully it makes enough horsepower and traction. I'm guessing it's got like 241 gears, 276s maybe. I don't know what this ground wire is, but it's definitely laying on the exhaust. Hopefully we don't need that. It looks like the same weld shop that did the engine mounts did the exhaust. He said this was a fresh tranny that he got a good deal on. He said that's the best part of the car. Best part of the car right there. So hopefully that doesn't crap out on us. Didn't even finish welding that. And that was the easiest spot to weld. And where they did weld, it didn't really penetrate. Looks like they welded the tranny cross. Well, they put the tranny crossmember here and tried to use some metal melting procedure. I suppose they had to move it back for the 4L60E stock style mount. Looks like a stock shift linkage. Oh, he's got a clip on it. I figured that would be welded or something as well. Looks like it's leaking somewhere there. Oil pan or shift shaft. Nothing too crazy. So, how many pieces of pipe? 1 for the flange, 2 for the elbow, 3 for the straight, 4 for another straight, 5 for another elbow, 6 over the axle, 7 around the axle. Oh yeah, only 7 pieces of pipe, 2 per side. That's 14 pieces of pipe. Clamps? No, we don't need those. Or the right size muffler. Those are the stock fuel lines. Look like they're about rotted out. Also looks like the park brake cable. We can't cut that because that is integral to holding the exhaust up. So that's good. Looks like we got some traction bars, anti-slap bars, something bars. Rear disc brakes, which is I think WS6 or 10th anniversary only. Rear sway bar. Rear brake line is just kind of hanging on for dear life. It is new, but you know, don't put a P-clamp there or anything. Oh, she is a limited slip. That's probably why we don't have rear brakes, because it looks like they're leaking profusely. Probably the calipers, or maybe it's an axle seal. Who knows? Is that our bump stop held on with duct tape? Yeah, sure. Why not? Oh yeah, definitely. There's another bump stop. There's some more zip ties. We haven't seen one of those for a while. Here's our fuel system. Oh, there's a fuel shutoff. What a deal. You could really mess with somebody there. Looks like you could even hook a cable up to it, pull it from inside the cab. All right, got Goonie set on packing orders for you guys for mortske.com purchasers. Look at this fuel tank. I think it's a factory fuel tank that they modified with a sump, but the sump isn't hooked to anything. And it also looks like it's probably leaking, because I mean, somebody else must have welded that, because no way Ray Charles, who made the engine mounts, could seal up a fuel tank. Ooh, more butt splices. A spade clip. I haven't seen one of those in a while, or yet. And yeah, So they modified a stock fuel tank with a pickup. So that's the other thing you got to spend money on is either a fuel tank or your fuel pump or both. You can buy nice fuel tanks for these, I'm sure, with a fuel pump built right into them. Oh, he put addle leaves, but only on the driver's side. Must have been a big boy. Yeah. And instead of putting one on each side, the left and the right, he put one on the front and one on the back of the axle, and then none over here. So why? I don't know. We may never know. That's interesting about these. The caliper's on the back side on the right hand side, and it's on the front side on the passenger side. The bleeder's up top over there. Bleeder's up top there. Maybe that's the way they are. Like I said, I have never come across one of these with factory disc brakes, so I think that was like WS6 only stuff, and maybe this was a WS6 or maybe this was 10th anniversary only. Anyway, back to the fuel system. Looks like you bought a pretty nice aftermarket filter, dual filters, a primary and a secondary, and then an aftermarket pump. I mean, you spent a bunch of money on lines and fittings here. So yeah, not so bad there, I guess. The car is not, I mean, it's rusty. It ain't super terrible. It's mostly just body. There's not a lot of rust in the structure, the sub rails, stuff like that. Pretty solid. Pretty solid. I don't know what that bolt is for. Hey, there's a lug nut he could have used on a wheel, just hanging out there. I mean, I don't know if it's holding the seat belt or no, that's definitely holding the spring in. Maybe she's a little rusty around the spring pockets. Not too bad. These are his new fuel lines he ran. Don't worry, use a little duct tape as a isolator between that jagged edge of rusty metal. But there's the floor pans. They're pretty chewy. Subframe up front is what you would cut out to put in like Reggie or whatever type of conversion you wanted, and that looks pretty solid. But where's the floor pan at that they hosed up? Oh, right there. They meant to jack there, and they jacked right there and pushed the floor up. Well, there's the other end of that ground. There's fuel hose just hanging there. So yeah, like the bottoms of the fenders, you know, there's a little bit of surface rust in the fender and in the door that they just painted over. When Barney the Purple Dinosaur painted this thing, oh, there's definitely some mud, you can tell, because it's not a straight edge there. If you want somebody to pick a car apart, I can do it. That's why I don't have anything nice, because I can pick my own stuff apart. All right, yeah, there's the carpet. A little squishy. How's this floor pan? That's definitely carpet there. So this car needs floors if somebody were to fix it up. Not gonna be me. I mean, we might just throw some stop signs in there, or just take the hood. Well, that's what he could have done. He could have taken the center that he cut out of the hood and put in there. Speaking of that, let's take a look at the inside. He did send the shaker hood to shaker with, because he had it. I kind of almost wish he would have left the 403 in here, because I kind of like 403 Olds engines. Had one in a 77 Olds Delta 88. She was a ripper. Hands are a little greasy from working on this thing. Go to sweetpatina.com, get yourself some TKO hand cleaning wipes, or man wipes as we call them around here, and use the code MR80 for Mortske repair 80, my favorite number. I'll show you just how good they are. Look at that, like new. These things work great when you're on the road doing mobile Mortske stuff. Again, check them out, Sweet Patina. Use the code on the screen, MR80. I'm not even need to take a bath this week. Well, old Chin stopped over. I was showing him this gem. Yeah, I'm guessing I can figure out where our brake fluid's coming from. It could be an axle seal leak, but it didn't take very long to create that puddle there, so I'm guessing it is the left rear caliper. But we were looking at this fuel pump bracket and filter bracket. I mean, it's all in one. Look at those nice wire connections, but look at the bracketry. Got some 1-inch square tubing, flex core welded by none other than the man himself. Look at the bubble gum up there, and then a couple of 1/4-inch bolts holding it. Yeah. And then, you know, it wasn't level, so they stuck another one on top of it. And then there's exhaust hangers up there. And of course, they didn't put any bolts in it. All they had to do was bolt it to the floor of the car, and they could have held the exhaust up. The exact same thing on this side. It's so fantastically terrible. But anyway, we got these old Cooper Cobras and the Weld racing wheels off of Reggie. And I think they'd be pretty fitting on this car. I'm sick of tripping over them. So we're gonna take the good 275 60s off of that. And I thought these were 295s because that's what the seller told me. They're 275 60s. I can't find a date on them, so I think they're built pre-2000. So, you know, they're 23-year-old tires. And if they blow and wreck a quarter panel, I don't care. But we're not gonna burn off my good Cooper Cobras. We're gonna use these ones. And then we're gonna put the white letters in, and it's gonna be real good. And we'll see if we can find that leak, but I'm pretty sure it's just a caliper. It's not gonna be hard to tell, but it's gonna be a shame we're gonna leak all that brake fluid all over our nice Cooper Cobras. Maybe we'll just put a rivet in that rear brake line. A, it stops the leak, and B, it's like a line lock, permanent, so we can just do brake stands all day. Burnouts. What do you think about that, Duff? You wanna do some burnouts? Have you got a ride in a T-top car yet? Have I ever owned a T-top car? Probably not. This might be our first T-top car. Well, since we're missing a handful of lug nuts, we gotta have different style lug nuts with a shank for those things. So yeah, let's do some wheel swapping. You gonna go hang out outside in the sun while I work? Oh, you're so much help. So much help. Yeah, who's a good boy? Okay, let's do that. Oh, and I did scrape up this nice red 1.25 inch. That's what size the sway bar is. It's like a twin to it. It's even got the grease zerk, but there's no hole for the grease to come through on the inside. So I don't know how that works. I'm pretty sure the same manufacturer built that. So we just need to find some bolts and put that up there. Bada bing, bada boom. Oh, and Chin was here and he held the steering, and there is a little bit of play in this idler, but it's really not that bad. So, but there is some play there. So if we're gonna put this front end underneath something else, we need a steering box and an idler arm. Conveniently, the steering box and Reggie is puking oil all over. Best purchase ever. Just kidding, I really like that pickup, but it is nickel and diming me to death. Yeah, we're between this and Reggie, we're gonna lose the shop for sure. I better go see if I can find those lug nuts before we get too crazy. Does anybody know what brand wheels these are? It's a 15 by 10. I suppose if we cleaned it up, it'd probably say it on the inside. It's disgusting. Let's see what these things weigh. Put it on my scale from my drug dealing days. 19 pounds, 9 ounces. Granted, we're not comparing apples to apples. I'm guessing there was a center cap here. That was held on with one lug nut. Ultras? Does that sound right? Seems like I remember seeing some wheels that look like this called Ultras. I will give it these Weld wheels. Not a race car guy, not a header guy, just whatever. These Welds aren't the worst wheels in the world, but these things are super light. They make me look super strong. If that thing was 19 pounds being a 15 by 10, I bet this thing is 7 pounds and change. Okay, way off. 12 pounds, 13 pounds. So, what do you say that was? 19 pounds, 9 ounces? So, yeah, 6.5 pounds difference. 16 ounces in a pound. 24 hours a day, 24 beers and a case of sandwiches. So yeah, we just saved 6 times 2, 12. We just saved like 0.3 of a second off the quarter mile this times of this hot rod back here. Oh yeah, it's we were talking about this on the way back from Austin, Texas. One of my buddies from Watertown flew down with me, Schultze, and him and his brother used to call them transmarrow birds. So maybe that's the name of this thing, the old transmarrow bird. Anyway, we're gonna mount those 275 60 BF goodies on Reggie's here. I'm gonna go real fast. Like I said, these are a 15x8, those are a 15x10. And then these things have this, you can see this huge offset, they're dished. Actually, the offs, these things, yeah, you get it. That thing's dished in more than that is, plus they're another 2 inches wider, so yeah, crazy. And they're dual lug pattern, so they're 5-on-5 and 5-on-4 3/4. That'd be 5-on-4.5. Yeah, and I think they're supposed to have flat lug nuts, and these gotta have the ones with the shank. There's nothing I hate worse than people who use the wrong lug nuts. Okay, there's a lot of things I hate worse, but let's show you a little bit more lug nut, proper geometry, whatnot. So these are for your standard steel wheel. Look at how chewed up that is from people doing things they shouldn't be doing. That's just your standard cone taper style, as is what these are. This is what those wheels should have. I don't have many of these. I've never run across wheels that have had these before, but see, it's got that flat mating surface. A lot of times, well, it's kind of the same thing. And then it's got that short shank. Well, these got these long shanks. Starting to sound like we should be in the movie Braveheart.
What advice would you offer on the present situation?
But anyway, basically you're doing the same thing here, but instead of the washer being floating, these have the washer built onto them. And those wheels are pretty messed up because people were using these wrong lug nuts. Look at these lug nuts. There's a couple of flats, a couple tapers, a couple of steel tapers, and then some of them were 3/4 hex, some of them were 13/16 hex. Just a menagerie. They sell lug nuts pretty freaking cheap at the parts store, and you can get 20 that match. Matching lug nuts, whatever. And then these, for our welds, got this long shank on them, and they got this washer, and look at what it says on this washer. Wheel side. Guess what that means? Put that face in the wheel. Why? I don't know, but just do as you're told and everything should be fine. Yeah, man, these things got a long shank on them.
That's what she said.
All right, we're gonna get these BF goodies mounted up on these welds, and we're gonna get them on there. And killdeer are the most annoying bird. I'm just an angry individual, aren't I? I hate race cars, I hate race car wheels, I hate headers, I hate killdeer, I hate loud exhaust. Yeah, I'm just a grumpy old man living out in the country. Leave me alone.
Get off my lawn!
Even old Chin was super impressed by the bump stop being duct taped in place. I don't know what kind of Gorilla tape. That's probably your best bet for taping a bump stop in place, but looks like the old Monroe's rubbed on the tire before. You guys know how much I love yellow shocks. And, oh, yeah, it's rubbed on the exhaust before. I'm sure that has nothing to do with it not being bolted in place. Maybe they unbolted it to give it more clearance. We may never know. Well, look at, she's a little rotten in there. And look at that Car air freshener. Is that pine tree scent? Sorry about that. That was all in the editing, not me. And we cleaned off some of the residual brake fluid back here. We're gonna dispose of it properly. And we're gonna take and put a nail in the brake line back here so that we don't leak brake fluid all over our nice 13th week of 1992 Weld racing wheels. Well, that's pretty neat that they got the manufacturer date on there. How neat is that?
That's pretty neat.
And then we're gonna slam this wheel back on. The reason instead of plugging it up front is that brake might still work if we plug it back here. Or if we plug it up there, we're gonna lose both rear brakes. And then if we plug it up there, all the brake fluid in the line could come back here and leak on our weld wheel. It looks like all the horse torques have snapped off these 7/16 wheel studs before, and somebody put new ones on, if I were to guess. But anywho, let's get this thing put back together and stop one of the leaks. Surprisingly, unless it's all out of fluids, this is the only leak that I've really seen in the car. The tranny it's moist. Oh, and also Chin pointed out that that is an aftermarket low profile oil pan because of the way that it is, and he just moved it up that high so that it would sit flush with the cross member so he could jump railroad tracks and do Dukes of Hazzard things without smashing his oil pan. Maybe we should go jump some railroad tracks with this thing. Nah, that's a bad idea. Is that illegal too? I mean, even if you're not speeding? We may never know. All right, less yakking, more talking. Almost looks like there's orange paint on there, like somebody's replaced that axle, like that's a junkyard axle. Or maybe they painted it orange. Who frickin' knows? Remember how I was just ranting about lug nuts and shanks and mismatchedness? Somehow this short shanked guy got in there, and that's the way I bought Reggie. So yeah, I mean, it'll work fine, but what the frick? Why can't people just have matching lug nuts? I don't get it. Get them to match for cheese and rice. There's still a fair amount of threads grabbing, but weird deal. I know it's hard to see with the hoist posts in the way, but that entirely changed the look of this car. Changed the look of this car entirely? I don't know. Either way is correct English, maybe, probably. I don't know. Way better. Not a huge fan of these wheels. You guys know that, but they actually fit this car pretty well. Wheels and tires and stance makes or breaks your vehicle. So, not that the color combo and the other menageries of plumbing and electrical help this car out any, but those wheels weren't doing any favors. Hey, if you know of 2 more wheels like that factory ones that we took off the front, I think they're 15x8s. If you know where we can get 2 more of those on the cheap, they ain't gotta be perfect, because let's be honest, the rest of this car sucks. Hit us up, mortskerepair@gmail.com. I think it would be cool to just rattle can this thing silver again and stencil a bird on it. And by stencil, I mean freehand aerosol. Still need a name for this thing. Put the stock wheels back on it, because that's what it needs, and I kind of dig those wheels. All right, what are we doing next? Oh, let's fix that sway bar that's just hanging on by dear life. Well, there's the problem. Somebody doesn't have the fancy washer on the top. Oh, they put the washer underneath the bushing, and so the nut pulled through the bushing. For dumb. I would have never dreamed that stuff like this could be possible. This is the stuff dreams are made of. Maybe that's what we'll call this, the dream machine. Ooh, that's hot. So take this washer off that's all shiny from getting beat to death. Put the bushing on. And then put the special washer. And then we grab our hot nut. And now we just tighten it back up. Didn't even need any new parts to fix it. Well, we put that one new clamp over there, but we didn't need any parts to fix this end link. You know, we should probably check the other side, huh? That side looks just fine other than the shaft, the bolt, whatever, is bent, probably because of the side load that this thing went through with that being ganked up and that being ganked up, but should work just fine. You can tell nobody's ever greased these Zerks because they still got the Zerk condom on them. Gonna be a warm one, ain't she, Duff? Well, I see why they didn't have the brake hose clamped to the rear end, because when you clamp it to where it should be, I thought I'll just put a bolt in it. It touches the exhaust. So we did it upright. Put a brake line clamp on the differential. I think that's a 3-inch diameter brake line clamp right there. And then we also took a little P-clip here and clamped the brake line to the subframe. So, you know, after we basically deleted this for a brake, then, you know, we clamped the lines up right. I like when people buy these preformed lines and, you know, they put these cooling loops in them to really add to the effect. And I think on these calipers, there should be a hose on the end. So there should be a hose going to the rear end, and then there should be a hose going to the caliper, because calipers got to move. But what the French do I know? We definitely didn't address that the fuel lines are just hanging out in broad daylight. And then we also noticed that there's a compression fitting on the brake line, which is an absolute no-no. Yeah, you don't do that. Do not do that. Moral of the story is, get yourself a flaring tool and put some ends on it. And at the same time when you do that, make those lines the right length back there. Pull out the bleeders, clean them up, bled the brakes on the front, so everything should be good up there. I'm ready to put her on the ground. Oh yeah, we also checked the rear diff. Yeah, it's full, but it's really greasy, so I thought maybe it'd be low, but it's not. Oh, and we put bolts in these exhaust clamps back here. Tighten up the clamps. Look at this. Well, other than it's rubbing on the leaf spring, they're nice and tight. Good to go. I'm sure it'll be just fine. What is it rattling against? Oh, just the floor, no big deal. Oh, this is so bad. It's too bad you couldn't just get one 6-foot piece of straight pipe instead of several here. And then, yeah, I think it's a lower profile pan right there. It's lower profile, but it should have been lower down here. And the reason they don't have bolts down here is because they don't line up. Oh, he's missing his inspection cover too. No big deal. No big deal. And I'm sure that exhaust flange is sealing up just fine. Looks like an awful big gap there. All right, let's set her on the ground and let's see if we can get the window going down and the door open from the inside so I don't have to climb out the passenger side. Maybe I'll take the T-tops off because it's so nice out. Oh, look at this thing, ain't she? The cat's pajamas. Took the T-tops off. That was pretty straightforward. This one was missing the handles, so we had to use the locking pliers. Got that window to work using our power probe. This side was getting voltage to the motor, but it wouldn't move, so we just kind of forcefully moved it down. The door handle on the inside isn't pulling the rod far enough, so we hooked the locking pliers to that and it works, so I don't know what's going on there. I'm guessing it probably just needs a door latch, and I think the other side's doing the same thing, but the opposite. So you can only open that one from the inside, this one from the outside, but the window's down. It's perfect. And if you got a T-top car, it's like a convertible, basically, and who drives around in a convertible with the top up? I can't get the seat to adjust. It seems like it's too far ahead. I tried playing with the tack. I found the tack wire up here. There's two connectors with a clip like this, tack and bat for the distributor. And this one doesn't have power, so I'm guessing it is the tack. And we tried hooking that to the white wire coming off the wire harness and getting the tack to work. That doesn't work, but it sounds like there's some, you could have to program and some resistor and yada, yada, yada. So maybe we'll get an aftermarket tack. It would be nice to have that because we don't have a speedometer, so we don't have anything to go by for speed. Seeing as how the transmission has a digital output and the speedometer is a mechanical, there's ways around it. It's, you know, LS swap things. There's a lot of ways to skin a cat, but we're going to try to do it the easiest way and have something. This guy did it the easiest way, which is to get no gauges out of the deal. So, yeah, what else are we going to do? We got to play whack-a-mole at the floor, knock that down. Look at this back here, though. There's the mirror, and there's all the shaker hood stuff. Quite the deal. So I mean, that's got to be worth a few bucks. Door still latches. That's a plus. I think we're gonna eliminate the catch can because it's just floating around here, and all I need to do is hook this hose back up to this hose, and we can bypass it, clean everything up. I started checking these wires, trying to find the tack one, and like that has power. It's just hanging out. Somebody put a solid core wire in it. I did trim off 10 zip ties. I got to start. This one, you know, I'm going to try to clean this up a bit because it's really not that bad under here. I say that. Our master cylinder is most definitely leaking, so we're going to need one of those at some point. But yeah, I think I'm going to clean up this wiring harness a little bit. And we're going to go from there. Also, we noticed header things, you know, instead of using the manifolds or getting the right headers, we had to play whack-a-mole and beat the ever-living piss out of those two tubes. Don't worry, it doesn't rob any horsepower when you do that. It's been proven. But why spend the money and then have to do that? Oh, and Chin noticed this. They took the emissions logo decal off of the airbox from whatever they took this out of. What was it out of? And stuck it to this 5.3. Does it say a year on here? Oh, 2002 model. Yeah. So that's pretty neat.
How neat is that?
Oh, and then I took a couple hose clamps off these heater hoses and stuck them on this T. And that T is some type of terrible plastic and wanted to collapse, so you can't get them too tight. But he had the hose clamps right there already. And why didn't he just run this hose all the way to there instead of having that splice? Same thing with these wires. We got to figure out the fans if they're even working, and also we need a relay, so I might just rewire all that stuff, do her upright. Unfortunately, it's not going to make much for content on your guys' end. It's just going to be me working real fast cleaning up wiring, because there's nothing really to explain other than to, you know, use some different colored wires. Don't put splices in if you don't have to have them. Use the right gauge wire, use relays, all that good stuff. It's so bad. All right, well, there goes two more, the 78 Chevy Ramp truck and the 67 small back window C10, one owner, going to Colorado. He came here this morning, we threw a battery in that thing, primed the Edelbrock, we put new brake hoses and calipers up front, we had one brake line to fix, and hooked up the ground on the taillights. He stuck new taillights in there, but all it needed was the ground. So that's pretty cool. He's the same guy who bought the AMC Rambler Rebel SST. So, repeat customer. Look at all this. Repeat offender here. Look at all this garbage we gutted. Covered all the AC stuff. Look at all these fittings and hose clamps and hoses that were in there and wire. We still got to move the transmission cooler lines because I just don't like that. Cleaned up the fan wiring, ran this over there. We're gonna put a relay on it, and hopefully we can get it running off the ECU, or otherwise you're gonna just run it off ignition power. Got rid of that heater hose T loop conglomeration and went to this conglomeration, which I'm not sold on. They make T's that go on the upper radiator hose for the steam port, which I don't know what a steam port does, but you gotta have it. And so I put a T in there, and we hooked our temp sender on there. And I think we still got a leak. Maybe, I don't know. Just a pile of fittings in there that I'm not real proud of, but it cleans it up a little bit better. And like I said, it's temporary. I think we can put that temp sender in the back of the head once I get the right fitting, and then we'll put that steam port right there, and everything will be happy. Or else we can put the steam port up here with a splice. I don't really like that. If we can get a radiator in here, so we can get rid of the tranny cooler and these lines, and then we can get rid of those terrible electric fans, and we can route the hoses a little bit better, and then do something with that intake, it's going to look a million times better under here. But it's already looking way better, and it hasn't cost us much more than this Amazon hose. I keep a couple of them on hand. I think they're like $10. And a couple of fittings there, which we replaced those fittings with, you know, we'll take fittings out of the kit, put these fittings back in the kit. This is what was on there for that steam port. Some plastic made in China, hot garbage. You can see how it was kinked from me over tightening the hose clamp. We got some hose clamps out of the deal. I found one of the engine mount bolts that was missing. It was just kind of hanging out down here along with a bunch of other hardware. And what else we got going on? Oh my gosh, this wiring. So this guy didn't know what he was doing for wiring. There's like a 18 gauge purple wire. Here, I'll show you. This little guy right here, 16 gauge probably, ran into the fuse panel, and it's teed into a power wire that's plugged into the fuse panel, and that's what was powering everything up. And then you had this wire hooked to this where it should not have been. I don't know what that wire is even for. But all he would have had to do, this wasn't hooked up to anything, but when you hooked power up to this, you got power there. Anyway, all he had to do was run a 12 gauge from there to there. So I don't know what he was doing. It's sketchy. That was probably the sketchiest wiring I've seen. I don't know. He was backfeeding the fuse panel is basically what he was doing. So we're going to eradicate some stuff over here on the passenger side. Driver's side, it's getting late. I'm sick of dealing with wiring and plumbing. We're going to eradicate some more wiring there. And yeah, I think we're going to be getting pretty dang close to going for a rip. We could probably go for a rip right now if we ran some wires to our fan switch, fan relay. I don't know. These fans must not pull a ton of amperage because it's just 14 gauge wires coming off those fans. So maybe Honda fans don't pull much, but I think we're going to put a relay on it, which conveniently enough, there was a relay laying in the ashtray. This guy right here. So, I mean, they were that close. They just needed to screw it to the firewall and wire it up. Look at all that crap we took out of there. Okay. Oh yeah, and we should probably put a new ground that's not going to the body, that's, you know, hooked up to the actual engine. All right. We're getting there. Getting close to going for an RIDE, Duff. Where did you go? He was hanging out with the folks who bought the ramp truck. They were giving him all the attention today, so he's doing that, which is fine by me, because I've been busy getting rid of air conditioning and wiring and terrible plumbing. And replacing it with my own terrible plumbing and wiring. All right, back to work. All right, I figured since he had these fans wired directly and they worked before, and it's just a little 14 gauge wire going to them, we'll just try running them direct. So I got it hooked up to key power, which I really freaking hate. I like electric fans that just come on when you need electric fans. But we'll try it, see how it works. I don't know if this thing even runs cool or runs hot. We still got a leak coming out of that elbow on that pipe fitting over there, so it's not bad. It's just not even a drip hardly, but let's clean up our mess here. Back her outside and let her run for a little bit. See what she does heat-wise. Should probably check that master cylinder before we get too crazy too. Because, yeah, brakes are good. Also, got rid of our catch can, just splice it there. If I had a LS powered vehicle sitting in the lot, we could just steal that line off it, put it back the way it was. But no, we had to splice that, or cut it, so we had to splice it. Silly people. Somebody must have heard me talk about going for a ride. Oh, how's it going, little buddy? Where you been? Out chasing bunnies in the back? Yeah, okay. I'll do some cleaning and we'll maybe take her for a rip. Let's see if it still runs. Oh, yeah. Doesn't shut off right away. What did we rewire that's not happening? We must be wired up to something that's backfeeding so it doesn't kill the engine immediately. Like it's hooked up to something in the alternator circuit? I don't know. Minor details. All right, let's kick her outside, let her run for a little bit, see if the temp comes up. Gotta get rid of that seatbelt buzzer. Of course, it's starting to rain too. T-top life. Forgot to check the brakes. Still work though. Hopefully that's just residual oil there. Then when I goosed it, it streaked out. So I'm guessing it's just laying on top of something. The wind is coming up. I think we're gonna get some weather here, so probably not gonna be able to go for much of a ride. Let's see if she warms up. Maybe we'll bring Bernie inside along with all the other gems. I don't want Bernie getting hailed out. Well, she's not making any heat, so let's drive her around the block. See how it goes. See if it's got brakes. She is starting to rain. Where's my co-pilot at? Hey, you want to go for a ride? You sitting in the rain somewhere or what? I guess he's hiding out of... Oh, hey, where you been? Load up, let's go. Don't put your face in any stains back there. Wanna ride up front? Come on. Let's go. Up here. Good boy. All right, let's do this. What do you think of those Mortske Repair air fresheners? Should we get some that are fecal matter scented just for you? Maybe we'll get some with your face on it. Oh yeah, and the brakes go right to the floor. Why does it do that? So you get like one good stab at it, and then they go away. Okay, she's starting to rain good. Think the wipers work? Yeah, right. Nope. If we didn't have a yard full of junk to run into, this would be a lot more favorable. Oh yeah. Whoa, hang on, pal. Oh yeah, brakes work. Brake check. Sorry, Duff. If we can't get the ramp truck running, we'll just set it up as a ramp and, you know, do bandit things. Oh, this thing will do donuts for sure. without even revving it up. Oh, this thing is gonna be so good and so bad. I wonder why the brakes just kind of come and go. Well, I'm guessing it's the master cylinder just taking a shot in the dark. What do you think? I don't know what to think about our temp. It's not coming up. Oil pressure's good. It's charging. It says we got a half tank of gas. It's 106 miles of Chicago. We've got a half pack of cigarettes. Hit it.
We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses.
Hit it.
Sure wish we had wipers. Guess we'll have to look into that. Put it on the list, Duff. Fix the cigarette lighter too. Wonder if that works. All right, we're definitely not gonna take it out on the highway. All right, we made it back safely. Nobody died. We gotta get a master cylinder or something on this thing because the brakes will work and then they won't and then they'll come back. I don't know, it's kind of the same thing that Reggie was doing. So that's no bueno. And then when I goosed it, the back of the seat kind of came off or something. So we gotta look at that too. And I don't know what happened when we rewired it. I'm sure it has something to do with the way that he had it wired in, but our ignition power doesn't kill it. So I think we need to put a diode in somewhere. I'm guessing that's what the deal is, but I don't know. I think that's the only thing we changed was that power that feeds in the fuse panel. I don't know. I don't know where they're even getting key power at, because all I messed with was the battery powers. I never messed with the key power thing. Interesting, Duff. Interesting. Oh, that's what it is. We do have to put a relay in for the fans. So I bet if I unplug the fans that are butt spliced together, I bet the electric motors on the fans are back feeding into the ignition power, which is back feeding to the computer, which tells it to keep running. That's what's going on. Because electric motors turn into what? Generators? If that, you know, just like a wind generator, that fan's still turning when you turn the key off. So that's what it is. So we'll have to put a relay on those anyway for that reason, or else put a diode in it so they can't backfeed the system. Not a big deal. Oh, that is a big deal. Ooh, free white Charger. Not the white Dodge Charger I wanted, but yeah. That's gonna be an issue. Maybe we just need to take that seat out and figure out why the tracks don't move back and forth, because I'd like it to be back further. I don't know, maybe it doesn't go back any further, but yeah, that part is no bueno. Never would have caught that from all the rowdy stuff going on in here. The old center console is busted. Been a lot of gals leaning over that thing, if you know what I mean. It's missing the knobby, which I think is pretty common for these shifters of these GM sorts, and that's not real fun on your thumb. And that needs to be adjusted. It's got the grab handle for your co-pilot, even though you probably need thumbs to use that. Sorry, Duff. And yeah, you probably don't want to take a black light back here. They don't look like they got a lot of traffic on them, but yeah, that's the beauty of this silver vinyl, is it cleans up nice. What do we got in the glove box? Trainer details. Wow. Yeah, because clearly nobody's ever detailed this thing. Ooh, you suppose the trunk pop works? No way! What a deal. I was playing with some of that wiring down there, so I got to clean that up because I was trying to use this for the tack signal. And I think this is the fan signal because that was run up under the hood. So I think he was trying that. So we might have to check that out. See what happens. Did you ever get the water temp? No, that's not electric, so it should be, if it was heated up, it would be reading just like the oil. Neither of these got wires going to them except for the lights, so never did get it to warm up. Let's see what we got in the trunk. Hopefully some good stuff. T-top bags maybe? Looks like a whole lot of nothing. Maybe some rust. Oh, there's the 5/16 bolts he's got holding his fuel source thinger in place. You can see it's factory silver, and you can see somebody sprayed it blue at one time, and then it was purple. You can see all the blue overspray. Don't park it on a hill when you change the tire. Oh my gosh, the light even works in here. What a deal. Ooh, what not a deal is the rust in the inner structure of this thing. She needs a trunk lid before we take her to the old Barrett Jackson. We'll just throw some expanding foam in there and carve it out. It'll be fine. Wow, that shuts nice. Does it have a gas cap? Oh, it swings sideways. Whoo! It's pretty swanky, eh, Duff? Yeah. All right. I guess we're gonna call her good for tonight. You wanna wash this thing? Absolutely not. It does hook up pretty good. Those tires that are bald and those super tall gears. Yeah. And I don't know if they played with the tune and the shift points, but it went to the moon before it shifted. Actually let off or shifted in a second. Let's get this out of the way before that falls on my melon when I goose it the next time. And let's definitely unhook the battery before we call it a night. This is why I don't ever tighten my battery cables. You know, when they're on fire, you're gonna be able to rip the cable off when you got an electrical fire. And don't even put a bolt in there. That was not me, okay? Oh yeah, we need to put that battery ground cable on there and replace that. We got some things to do yet. Maybe we should look, see if we got a master cylinder. That's pretty high on the priority list. And so are sandwiches. Speaking of that, the guy who came from Colorado and got the ramp truck, he bought us 2 cases of Wibbies. Real excited about that because I was down to my last 2 Wibbies in the fridge. That stuff's the cat's pajamas. That is the new sandwich of choice, is Wibbies. Check those things out if you're in Colorado. You can't get them here in the Dakotas that I know of. Didn't see them in Oklahoma or Texas when we were there either, or Wisconsin, or Minnesota. We've been putting some miles on the last few months, but I'm gonna go enjoy a sandwich and think about my poor life decisions, AKA Transmarrow bird purchases. Maybe that's what we're gonna call it. I just want to see how you guys can't spell my name. Some of you can. Some of you just butcher my name. And and when it autocorrects on your phone, it goes to mortal. But Transmarrow bird, try to spell that. Yeah, see what your autocorrect puts in there when you put Transmarrow bird. Let's see. It'll be interesting. Or think of a really great name. Comment down below. All right, sandwich time. Less yakking, more working. All right, first thing on the agenda is we got to fix that master cylinder. I scrounged around through my stash. I found an 1 1/8" bore master cylinder. That's what this thing calls out. You could get these things with manual brakes, power brakes, rear drums, or rear discs. So a lot of combinations. We're just gonna, hopefully the 1 1/8" GM master cylinder that I got bolts right on. Doesn't give us any issues. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And hopefully we don't break any lines off because these things look pretty chewy. That's usually the first thing I like to do is get the lines cracked loose before you take the bolts loose on the master. And keep an eye right there. If the line starts turning, you got to give her some heat because you don't want that line to twist off. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yep, the wrench is slipping. Plan B, since the wrench is slipping, we're gonna round these things off. We're gonna clamp on them with the old locking pliers here. It might screw up the fittings a little bit, but it'll at least get them out. And if we don't screw them up too much, we should be able to tighten them with a wrench again. Maybe we'll get her tighter than that. These are not gonna go well. Oh yeah. There. Sure enough, the whole line wants to move. We got it loose so we can go back to the wrench, but we'll get them both loose. And we'll give her some heat. Come on. Maybe we should, yeah. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm new. I don't know what to do.
I'm new! I don't know what to do!
Oh. Oh yeah, we're gonna have to heat them both. All right, so we're trying to save the line. So we're gonna heat the nut, because if you heat up this line, it's gonna fail because it's very thin. This is a lot thicker, so heat the nut. Little heat goes a long ways. We need to make that decal logo shirt. Come on, baby. Wiggle her back, look at that. Salvaged it. I just hate making brake lines, especially these tight quartered short ones. Plus it's got oddball size ends on it. There you go, one down, one to go. Two for two. Come on, baby. Oh yeah. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now we just gotta take the two mounting bolts out, pop this thing off. Probably don't grab it because it's hot. Same with those ends. And swap on the new one. It's just that easy. Hopefully the new one's the same. Same fitting size, location, diameter, all that. Oh yeah, these don't round off. Probably a lot better if we use a 6-point. You are not metric, you're just full of that much rust, aren't you? That's how you know they're rusty, when you gotta pound the socket on. At least you know it's not gonna round off. Nice tight fit like that. Get out of the socket might be an interesting debacle, however. I'm gonna go to the vise and get this nut out. We're gonna put a new nut on it when we put it back together. That was a real bugger to get off of there, so we're going with the 15 millimeter on this one.
Bugger.
Just kidding. 15 millimeter and an extension. Just kidding, maybe a shallow 15. Oh no, we might get it. Don't be too tight. There we go. Let's get this grimy, leaky son of a biscuit out of here. Don't drip it on the nice purple paint. This one's a little bit different design. Instead of the one bail clip, it's got two bail clips, and then the rear reservoir. Both reservoirs are bigger, so, but it's 1 1/8", same as this thing was. Should work just fine, hopefully. Probably not, but that's what we got. Some viewer sent us a bunch of master cylinders, and this is the second one we've used. The first one went on Reggie. So far, so good. I'm gonna go get a couple of new nuts to slide on there. And we're gonna see if the fittings work out, and we'll just bleed it on the car. Yeah, these are most definitely 3/8 bolts, and the nuts were so rusty that we had to use a metric socket. Imagine that. That's getting hot. Why is that hot? Looks like our fitting sizes are correct. Put a little looby doob and try to loosen these guys up. Oh, that one's nice and loose. This one, not too bad. Not too shabby. Alright, we got our bleeder in place. This killdeer is clearly coming to help. I'm gonna go inside, pump her a few times. This is basically bench bleeding, but on the car. Tomato, tomato. Let's hook up our brake booster before we forget. That would not make it run very well. That would be a big vacuum leak. There we go. Just pump her up till we get all the bubbles out. Alright, now let's hook the lines back up. Trying to make as minimal of a mess as possible. I said as minimal mess as possible. Go to your home. Don't you know where your home is?
Why didn't you just go home? That's your home! Are you too good for your home? Answer me!
is a auto line, part number 1743. As you can tell, it's quite dated, so shout out to whoever sent us that package of master cylinders. You forked out some money out of your own pocket for shipping, and these things are getting used, saving the day. Like I said, the last one went on Reggie. I was loading it on the trailer, and the brakes went out on my way to Oklahoma and then Texas, so that was super convenient. Saved me having to try to find one down in Oklahoma. All right, I'm gonna go hit the brakes, see what they feel like. Go from there. Should probably get one of those back on the shelf because I feel like that's kind of a common master. Oh my gosh, they feel amazing. We just gotta fix that seat now. All right, we interrupt your regular scheduled programming to bring you your tech tip of the day. And I don't even know if this is a tech tip, this is more of a safety tip. Last night, I went in, sitting on the couch, got cleaned up, and I thought, did I unhook that battery? And in light of what Brent at Half-Assed had happen where his shop just burned down, I thought, you know, I know it's late, I'm tired, but I'm gonna walk across the yard. I'm gonna go make sure that that battery is unhooked. I knew I had it unhooked, but it doesn't hurt. Get my steps in anyway. And that's your safety tip of the day. If you're working on a project like this, or it's somebody else's car, or you just did a bunch of wiring, or whatever, unhook the battery cable. Even if it's a car that you know really well, and you're second guessing it, unhook the battery cable before you go in for the night. The other thing is, we just got done doing a bunch of torching. Don't do a bunch of torching and then run to town and get parts, or go in and get supper, or go for a ride with your buddies, or take off out of the yard. If you're gonna run the torch and it's getting late at the night, I don't even like to do it when it's getting late. It's just something my grandpa and my uncle were always against. We don't run the torch after, 9 p.m. or whatever, but sometimes they're out here pretty late. If you're running the torch, hang around for an hour. Hang around for 2 hours. Have a couple sandwiches, make a game plan for what you're gonna do the next day. Pick up some tools. Just keep an eye on things. And if you're worried about it, you just did some torching on a car, roll it outside. It'll be fine outside for overnight. So those are a couple of tech tips. Like I said, in light of what Brent had, it was a terrible, terrible deal. I'm not saying any of these led to what he had happen, but unhook your battery cables, use your torch safely, and when you run the torch, hang around for a bit just to make sure you don't have any issues. That sounds like a 6.2 diesel to me. Oh yeah, it's 6.2 season, ladies and gentlemen. Mojo making her happen. All right, let's get this seat back fixed and smell some Ronnie from 1980 farts. Can't wait to dig into this seat. I kind of just want to throw it in the trash and throw something else in here, but I don't have much better options. And it really ties the thing together. I mean, look at that steering wheel cover, plus all the hook and loop tape. That's Velcro for you folks that don't know. It's the non-patented name. And then look at the racing 200 mile an hour chrome silver special duct tape. Whew. That's good stuff right there. It's not even that sloppy. All right, I ain't real proud of it, but I got the driver's seat fixed. So there's 2 pins or bolts that the seat pivots on, and there's a latch on the back, so you gotta flip the latch to get it to tip ahead. Well, it's not a bolt, it's just a pin that it pivots on. And I thought the bolt had came out or broke, but it looks like it kind of snaps in place, and the snap mechanism on the pivot is busted, or the seat is wallered out and got too wide so it doesn't stay on the pin, if you know what I mean. I don't know. Unless you've worked on one of these, you're probably not gonna know what I'm talking about. But it's really rusty, the bolts holding the seat down, so I can't get it out to fix it. And I don't wanna bury my face in this carpet or this seat trying to get it out. And we're just gonna create more of a mess by taking them bolts out because they're gonna snap off or round off. So I just fixed her up the right way. I got a 1x4. You can't even hardly tell. It's a wood grain center console. Pounded that 1x4 in between that bracket on the seat and the transmission tunnel, the drive shaft tunnel. So here's the lever I was talking about with the latch. Oh, no, it doesn't tilt forward. Well, good news, because nobody's gonna sit in the back. But look what else we found. Lake Superior keychain. What's it? Bayfield, Duluth, Split Rock. I've only been to Duluth. Anywho, somebody paid $8.95 for this thing at the old Cedar Chest. I tell you what, Anybody who orders a Mortske Repair vintage keychain this week gets thrown in the drawing, and we'll randomly slip this into an order. So get yourself a keychain. You might get 2 keychains. Mortske.com. All right, I think this thing is ready for a test drive. We got a seat. Oh, we got a seat belt? We don't need a seat belt. Oh yeah. The retractor is definitely shot, but she latches, so we're good to go there. Let's take this son of a biscuit for a rip. The old floor situation down there's bothering me. So we're gonna fix it. Body by Mortske. Oh, hit it like. Good thing there's not much structure there. Hitting it with my purse here. Way better. Fixed it. Let's fix the door buzzer too. Guessing it's one of these. Definitely this guy. Or gal. Whatever it is. Well, they really don't want you unplugging that thing, do they? Fixed it. We'll save it for when somebody restores this thing. Perfect. I should go into the body business. That's real nice. Told you the mullet was coming out. I don't think this seatbelt's gonna do much without a retractor, but whoever extended it out last time was a much larger human being. Put this mullet on and all of a sudden you start. Can't use big words more than 3 syllable words. Okay, ready to do this, Duff? Yeah, let's party. It's so much easier to get in and out of this thing with the added legroom. Oh, and then not having the seatbelt buzzer. It's gonna be real nice. The fuel pump's so loud. And I love electric fans. Hopefully it starts today. Oh! Just kidding. Mullet man's gonna be fixing some brakes. Watch that front brake line when I hit the brakes. Woo! It's like purging the NOS, only it's brake fluid. You know, Ronnie here, who bought this car new, don't do his own work, so he was gonna take her into the dealership and have them put a new brake line on. Sorry, pal. No ride just yet. Oh, Ronnie needs to get that door handle fixed too, and the window, and the seatbelt, and the radio, so you can place it. Little nice day for a white wedding. Billy Squire, The Stroke. That's definitely what Ronnie would be listening to. Need a better mullet wig. This one ain't long enough in the back. Gives me tan lines. Dang it. How much fun is that going to be to make? Not too bad. Sick of the old antenna here, so we're gonna fix that. I don't have a radio anyway, right? After I've been working around it for 3 days. Fixed it. It's got good brakes, so let's check the fluid. We shouldn't have lost much. We didn't lose hardly any. All right, ready to strap up and do this. Whew. Good thing we didn't get much of that brake fluid on our nice purple fenders, because brake fluid is the devil to paint. Another reason we don't paint anything. All right. Trans-Marrow bird, try number 2. Is your camera out? Hey, no kisses. This is for the ladies. Let's do this. Need a new mirror too. No Fountain of Youth coming from the master cylinder this time. Let's do a hot lap around the yard first. Oh yeah, she just lights them up instantly. I know it's gravel. All right, this shoulder harness thing ain't working. Got the lap belt going though. Keep us from catapulting out the top. Ejectocito, cuz!
Mighty go! Ejectocito, cuz!
Brakes, gas, brakes, gas. What do you think of this thing? You a T-top guy? T-top dog? Oh yeah. Oh, this thing's gonna be a drifting machine! Let's do this. Ready to hit the open road, Duffers? First, second. Pretty lazy shifts though. Maybe that was second to third. Either way, it's not shifting again. And this mud is all in my face! I mean, it looks cool, but there's a price you gotta pay. I did check the torque on the lug nut stuff, so yeah, we're safe there. But safety is our top priority around here. I did put 5 gallons of fuel in. We're up to 3/8 of a tank, so the fuel gauge works. I feel like I need a ponytail. Does that make me any less manly having a ponytail from a mullet? This thing goes down the road surprisingly well. Not quite as good as it drifts. 50 pounds of oil pressure, 13.5 voltages is. Maybe I need a hair nap. That's what I need. I don't think the temp gauge works. So we're still sitting at 130. That and them Honda fans and that Honda radiator is doing a real good job. Does your ear hair like ever get in your mouth? Kind of like this stuff? First world problems. 19,618. I'm guessing that's 119,000. We need to find some railroad tracks. It's an LS. Why would we even need a temp gauge? You can get these things like nuclear and they love it. That's what I've heard anyway. Blinkers? Yeah, right. I think we got to do some more wiring because I tried checking the lights and we don't have lights, and I think that's because of the wiring situation we got going on under the hood. We're not getting power to the whole fuse panel. Actually, from a rolling standstill, rolling stop. Oh, she gets and gets. Shit! Oh! Boogies! Can't imagine if we had like some 373s in here. We need to get that tack hooked up, or a tack hooked up, so we can figure out what it's got for gears, but I'm guessing it's like 241s or 276s. Probably have to play with the tune. I did scan the codes on this thing, and it's got like a P0405 and it's got a couple of emissions codes, so I'm thinking when they tuned it, they didn't take out all the emission stuff. And then we got to bring down the shift points because it's not shifting, or we got to bring down the rev limiter. Who knows? Poor transmission and valve train. Oh, you're missing your visor over there, Duff. He's just taking it all in, window down, hanging out the A-pillar. The TA life is good. I think it needs an alignment. Steering wheel's off and it kind of wanders a bit. We better Put that idler arm on it before we get on the line. Yeah, this thing would dig hard with like some 373s or some 410s. My iPhone doesn't even recognize me with my mullet. I have to do the old manual login. Oh yeah. Single axle camper sitting on blocks. Classy. I wonder if she'll do a burnout. Gotta find out, right, Duff? Temp gauge is coming up. We're up to 140, 145. Ready? I'm just leaving it in drive. Woo-hoo! This thing is good! I take that back, we don't even need gears, Duff. We just need more sets of tires.
Goddamn spinning tires? You got them spinning tires, do you?
Wish we could hold it in first. This tranny is not as good as he says. Yeah, see it like, I don't know, it goes up, it goes down. It's all in around. But it ain't cracked the bed yet, so we're doing alright, I think. This thing's actually, it's pretty good. The exhaust sounds, I mean, it doesn't sound like throaty, it's quiet. There's not a ton of exhaust leaks. I did notice that when we started up, it must have like valve guide issues or something, because it poofs a little bit of smoke, and said smoke comes around the header collectors, so yeah, imagine that. The headers are leaking. Weird. But I don't think we're gonna put exhaust on it. We're up to about 150 degrees, running it cool as a cucumber, provided our water temp gauge by Equius is doing water temp gauge things. I mean, we may never know. Yeah, I'm sure it's fine. Like I said, LS, you can get them nuclear, they love it. Goes pretty straight down the road. Yeah. If we got a tack or like a GPS speedo in here, fixed a few little odds and ends, this thing would probably be pretty alright. I bet it's a donut whipping machine. What do you think? He's just getting in all the scents on the carpet down there. Been a lot of various chemical substances spilled down there, I got a feeling. If this thing could talk, it would be screams, most likely. Yeah. Go get yourself a second gen F-body. No regrets.
That's my credo. No regrets.
Chin said that the gauges on this thing are supposed to light up red on the 10th anniversary, but of course, that's when I checked the lights this morning, and they don't light up, so. Yeah, it just kind of like wants to like float in first gear or something. I don't know if it's shift points we got to play with, or the tranny sucks, or rev limiter, or we just need to hold it in first with the shift linkage. Because it won't shift into first. You can only get her down to second. So we got to mess with the geometry. That's what happens when you got a 3-speed shifter hook up to a 4-speed transmission. So LS swap things. Let me know if you want me to do a video on what to look for on an LS swap vehicle, or it kind of goes for any engine swap vehicle. Things to look for, you know, like shift linkage, radiator hoses, throttle linkage, you know, how it's, you know, the fans are wired in, if it's got electric fans, what transmission they use, exhaust, stuff like that. Things to look for on an engine swap, specifically LS swap vehicle. Let us know. We'll can maybe do something for you. See what she'll do. problems. No seatbelt. This thing is so good! Nothing whips donuts like 3rd gen, 2nd gen F-bodies. That's what I mean. 2nd gen F-bodies are so good. And it's got a freaking $500 LS in it that would... We need to hook a draggy up to this thing and see what like quarter-mile times are, and then compare them to what these things were when they're new. And like I said, this is a bone stock 5.3. So I can about imagine if you throw a cam and some valve springs and heaven forbid a couple of turb skis on there, how wild this thing would be. Maybe some gears. Oh yeah, play with the tune, because it's like, it like floats in first. I don't know. I think he said he turned the rev limiter off, but I don't know if he knew what he was doing. Like, who turns the rev limiter off but forgets to turn off the emission stuff? I don't know. Anyway, there's smoke still rolling. We're not even up to 160 degrees yet. I'm guessing that's why they got the overloads back here, because she gets the old wheel hop Wilma going on back there. So we need some traction bars or just some new springs. Oh, but wait, they're attached to the rusty, crappy body on this thing, so yeah, who knows. Finally got her up to 160. Oil pressure dropped down to about 32. LS things, oil pressure, we don't worry about that. We're good to go. This thing is golden. Wind came up, Mojo closed the doors on us. This thing's pretty alright though. A lot of smoke rolling out from somewhere. I'm guessing it's from exhaust. Maybe we should hide this thing out back just in case the local PD is on the lookout for one badass mother trucker and some guy wearing a wig. Woo! She's stinky in here, Duff. What do you think of that thing, Mojo?
Look at here!
What?
You left some black streaks on my cement.
Oh, don't worry.
Oh, okay.
It's just seasoned. Mojo says it's on fire.
Yeah. It is. Still smoking.
She's smoldering. Better put her outside. Good thing those tires were bald when we started. Oh, it just throws it all over the quarter too, man. We're gonna have to put some painter's tape on them quarter panels. Hey, never mind my new safety shoes. Pretty excited about those. Want to see how high I can jump in them? Oh, this side ain't smoking so bad, but this thing's, she's pretty all right. Pretty all right. Goodness gracious. We're gonna need a tire sponsor. Well, boys and girls, I think this is gonna wrap up our time with the old 79 Trans-Marrow Bird that we haven't affectionately named yet. Trans-Marrow Bird is just too much of a mouthful. That's one thing that wasn't in here was mice, surprisingly. So that being said, I thought this thing was just gonna be a complete basket case donor car. And like all these 2nd gen F bodies, it really came to surprise me when it was all said and done. I really picked this car up, solid entertainment value, and I thought I'll have everything to drop a drivetrain in, something, an LS swap, something else. We'll put this, we'll find a really nice 58 or 9 Chevy short box fleet side sitting in the weeds, and we'll just drop this drivetrain underneath it, and bada bing, bada boom, we'll have a LS swapped hot rod. But now this thing's kind of tugging at my heartstrings. I might want to leave it together, but, and then I wasn't going to sell it because I thought, this thing is not safe for the road. But really, if we did a little work, put an idler arm on it, it should probably have some tires because these ones are shot. And should do floor pans, work on the door latches, the seat belt, get the lights working. Just a lot of piddly stuff, like not a lot of high dollar stuff. Get some calipers on the back. Probably put some new brake hoses. It's gonna need brake lines. Once one starts rusting out, they're all not far behind. But Yeah, this thing really isn't that bad, and we, you know, spent a couple of afternoons on it, dinking away, and this thing's pretty good. But if you want to own it, we'll put a price and availability down in the description. Like I said, it's kind of a donor. I definitely wouldn't restore this car. It might be kind of cool to have around and get some cheap silver paint and scuff it and shoot it ourselves, and, you know, maybe put a turb ski or two on it, or maybe a cam and some valve springs and let her eat. I don't know. It needs a little work playing at the tune with the shift points and the rev limiter and stuff like that. It needs some rear springs, need to be lower in the front. Like I said, it's got that wheel hop back there. But really, I thought this thing was gonna be super sketchy. We cleaned up most of the wiring, and it's not as sketchy as I thought. Got to do a little bit of work there, like I said, the fan relay, and then getting all the gauges and lights and all that working, get a speedometer in it. This thing's really, it's not that bad. This thing was a killer car in its day. This thing, it really rips the way it is, but there's definitely room for a lot more potential. So comment down below what you would do with this thing. But yeah, I just kind of want to show you what you can get. This is, like I said, a $3,500 LS swap car. We didn't stick a ton into it. We had a master laying around. We had some wiring stuff laying around. We had the wheels and tires laying around. And so we don't have a ton into it. Threw a battery in it because his battery was shot. This thing's pretty good. Yeah, just want to show you what the absolute worst LS swap car out there was that you could pick up, and the cheapest one. It's not even the worst, it's just the cheapest one that we could find. So, thank you very much for watching. Check out our other videos. Click the link down below, mortske.com. Get your swag, get your air fresheners, your keychains, your decals, your shirts, I think we got Bic pens. Hopefully they're supposed to be on there by now. Super scrapers, all that good stuff. So thank you to those who have purchased from us. It really helps out around here because we're cutting out that middleman. So it's, you know, going back into not our pockets, it's going back into hot garbage like this. So, or maybe that's what we should do with this. Should we got that 53 Ford F100, you know, drop all that stuff on there. I don't know. The possibilities are limitless. All right. On to the next one. Remember, doesn't matter how you get it done, as long as you're having fun. LS swaps, T-tops, F-bodies, all the fun. All right, let's kick this thing back outside and think about our life decisions. Much larger human being. I do believe we got a hole in our freshly swapped tire. Son of a gun. Guess we're gonna have to find some more 275/60s.